Hello everyone, and welcome to my Bold and Beautiful Gossips 24 channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before we begin, please hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Lisa Yamada has 6 heartbreaking words for fans before she was fired. Lisa Yamada's quiet but powerful rise on The Bold and the Beautiful as Luna Nozawa was one of the most intriguing character arcs the soap had attempted in recent years, because it gave audiences a fresh, vulnerable, and layered newcomer who was both connected to the show's core families through John Finnegan and Lee Finnegan, and yet stood apart with her own mysterious backstory. So when whispers spread that Lisa had been let go and that she had uttered 6 heartbreaking words to her fans before the firing, the fandom erupted with speculation, outrage, and sadness, and the entire entertainment press that follows soaps began to dissect what it meant both for Lisa personally and for Luna's storyline, which had only begun to blossom, especially since Lisa herself was seen as a breath of fresh air in a canvas that often recycled the same triangle beats between Brooke, Ridge, and Taylor, or Hope, Liam, and Steffi. And while official sources remained silent, insiders claimed that Lisa had told a small group of loyal fans at a backstage meet and greet the 6 words, "I wish it could be different," which on its surface sounds like a polite, wistful farewell. But in the context of a young actress who poured her heart into embodying a complex character, and whose dismissal blindsided not just her but her co-stars as well, those words carried the weight of disappointment, regret, and deep connection to a role that might have been transformative for her career. And so the audience clung to those 6 words as both a message of love to them and a final commentary on the creative decisions of a showrunner who perhaps had no idea how beloved Luna had become. And the firing itself couldn't be divorced from the storyline context, because just as Luna's tale was intensifying, with her obsession for Finn teased, her conflict with Steffi rising, and the revelation of her more dangerous, Sheila-like tendencies bubbling to the surface, the choice to cut Lisa felt not only abrupt but narratively destructive, robbing fans of the payoff they had been promised with months of slow-burn storytelling, which left many believing that Lisa had been sacrificed due to backstage politics, contract disputes, or the network's desire to return focus to legacy characters rather than fully embrace the generational shift. And the heartbreak among fans was amplified by the parasocial bond they had built with Lisa herself through her candid interviews, her charming social media presence, and her clear gratitude toward the soap audience, who often gave her more support than even the writers seemed willing to grant her with steady screen time. In this way, those 6 words became a rallying cry, plastered across fan-made graphics, hashtags like #JusticeForLuna, and even petitions demanding her reinstatement, which reflected not just affection for the actress, but also frustration with a show that has too often discarded younger talent before allowing their stories to fully play out. And meanwhile, Lisa's castmates reportedly were devastated, with Lawrence St. Victor, Carter, allegedly saying she had one of the best work ethics of any newcomer, Jacqueline McInnes Wood, Steffi, posting a cryptic, "The family won't be the same," and Naomi Matsuda Lee, hinting that the mother-daughter dynamic she and Lisa were building had so much more left to give. And so as all of this swirled, fans began to reimagine what might have been, picturing a darker Luna who could have followed Sheila's footsteps into villainy, or alternatively a redeemed Luna who found love with Will Spencer or Zend. And every fanfic and speculative spoiler video now feels like a tribute to what Lisa could have done. And therein lies the tragedy, that her 6 words of heartbreak not only marked the end of her tenure, but also encapsulated the disappointment of an entire fan base, because they wished it could be different too. They wished Lisa had been allowed to flourish. They wished Luna's story could have reached its shocking climax. They wished CBS and Bell would stop underestimating the importance of investing in diverse new talent. And so in forums, comment sections, and YouTube spoiler breakdowns, those words continue to echo like a ghost of what was lost, proving that sometimes the most impactful moments in daytime television don't come from the scripts themselves, but from the unscripted humanity of the actors who give their souls to bring them to life. And Lisa Yamada's 6 heartbreaking words, simple, soft, and devastating, may very well outlive the recycled triangles and endless fashion show plotlines that too often overshadow true character-driven storytelling on The Bold and the Beautiful. Lisa Yamada's 6 heartbreaking words, "I wish it could be different," may go down as some of the most haunting and bittersweet parting lines uttered by a soap actor to their fans, Because they weren't scripted, they weren't polished, they weren't written by Bradley Bell or edited for a glossy CBS promo. They were raw, human, and tinged with a grief that mirrored what longtime soap viewers themselves were feeling. And to fully grasp the devastating impact of those 6 words, one has to rewind and look at the context of Lisa's entry into The Bold and the Beautiful, the expectations surrounding her role as Luna Nozawa, and the ultimate implosion of what could have been one of the most layered and groundbreaking arcs for a new generation of characters. When Lisa first arrived on canvas as Luna, she was positioned as a wide-eyed design intern who seemed innocent and fresh, but anyone paying attention to the soap's rhythms could tell immediately that she was being set up for something darker, something twisted, something with the potential to push her toward either redemption or ruin depending on how the audience responded. And fans responded quickly, embracing her vulnerability, her chemistry with multiple co-stars, and her connection to the Forrester Logan Spencer Finnegan family tree, which is no small feat on a show that often sidelines newer characters in favor of endless Brooke Ridge-Taylor triangles or Steffi Hope Liam merry-go-rounds. Lisa, however, broke through. And not only did fans begin to clamor for more of her, but even cast veterans were impressed with her talent, her range, and her commitment, which makes the fact that she was cut all the more devastating. And when she whispered to fans that she wished it could be different, it wasn't just about losing a job. It was about mourning the stories left untold, the character development left hanging, the connections severed before they could fully bloom, and the fans who had invested in her and who now felt betrayed by the show's decision-makers. And of course, in true soap fashion, Lisa's departure was clouded by speculation of backstage drama. Some sources claimed that her character was becoming too popular, and that legacy families worried about the focus shifting. Others whispered that Lisa herself had been vocal about wanting deeper material and clash with writers, while still others believed that budget cuts and the prioritization of contracts for bigger names left her on the chopping block. But regardless of the truth, what mattered most to viewers was that her 6 words validated their feelings of disappointment, because they too wished it could be different. They wished that the show had recognized the treasure they had in Lisa. They wished Luna's burgeoning obsession with Finn could have reached a fiery crescendo. They wished that Steffi and Luna's inevitable violent confrontation had been allowed to play out with Lisa's powerhouse acting at the center. They wished that Lee and Poppy's fractured family drama could have reached its cathartic explosion with Lisa standing between them. And they wished that the darker undertones of Luna's Sheila-like behavior, her growing instability, her descent into obsession, her dangerous entanglements could have been fully unleashed to create a new era-defining villainess or anti-heroine that would have revitalized the soap in ways no recycled Brooke/Ridge reunion ever could. Instead, the audience was left with 6 words and a void that fans quickly filled with outrage, with tribute videos, with petitions, with social media hashtags like #BringBackLisa and #JusticeForLuna, which trended for days as the soap press picked up the story. And the heartbreak deepened when castmates subtly began to weigh in, like Tanner Novlin Finn, who reportedly told a fan at an event that Lisa was a gem we didn't get enough time with, or Naomi Matsuda Lee, who posted a cryptic photo of Lisa with the caption unfinished, which many interpreted as both a nod to their mother-daughter storyline and a statement on how the firing was handled. Meanwhile, the fans themselves began to speculate endlessly about what different meant in Lisa's 6 words. Did she mean different in terms of the storyline? Wishing Luna could have had a redemption arc instead of being painted into a villain corner? Did she mean different in terms of her contract? Wishing negotiations had gone another way? Did she mean different in terms of the culture behind the scenes? Wishing she had been better supported or valued? Or did she simply mean different in terms of the outcome? Wishing she could still be on the show that had become like family? And the ambiguity of those words made them echo louder, because every fan could project their own grief and their own frustrations onto them, making them feel universal and timeless. And the timing of her exit could not have been more heartbreaking because Luna's story was just reaching a boiling point. She had been caught sneaking out. She had threatened Steffi in heated whispers. She had been found with a mask in her bag that suggested sinister plans, and fans were speculating daily about whether she would snap completely, possibly taking Steffi hostage or even shooting multiple characters in a climactic blow-up, with Sheila somehow stepping in to save the day. And all of that was cut off midstream. leaving viewers not only angry but also robbed of the catharsis and spectacle that soaps are supposed to deliver. And so Lisa's words became a symbol, a shorthand for disappointment in the industry at large, in how young, diverse talent is often discarded before being allowed to shine, in how soaps too often rely on the safety of legacy characters instead of investing in the future, in how audiences are taken for granted, and in how the very actors who pour themselves into roles are left to shoulder the heartbreak of sudden firings. But beyond all the analysis and speculation, there was also something deeply human about Lisa's choice of words. She didn't lash out, she didn't burn bridges, she didn't point fingers, she simply gave fans an echo of their own feelings. And that quiet dignity may be part of why the response has been so overwhelming, because it reminded everyone that behind every character and every storyline is a person who feels the loss as deeply as the fans do. And for Lisa Yamada, those 6 words have now become her legacy within the bold and the beautiful universe. A legacy that fans will cling to, repeat, and mourn long after the show itself has moved on to its next recycled triangle. And perhaps, in some poetic way, those words will ensure that Lisa is never truly forgotten by the soap audience, because every time someone says, "I wish it could be different," they'll remember Luna, they'll remember Lisa, and they'll remember the 6 words that encapsulated the heartbreak of a firing that never should have happened. Lisa Yamada's quiet exit from the bold and the beautiful and her 6 heartbreaking words, "I wish it could be different," became not just a farewell but a rallying cry, a mirror held up to the audience who had invested months into Luna Nozawa's journey, and who suddenly found themselves grieving not just the loss of a character, but the loss of possibility. And the more fans dissected those words, the more they became convinced that Lisa had been pushed out not because of her performance, which was universally praised, but because of decisions far beyond her control. Decisions rooted in the politics of daytime television where contract cycles, budget priorities, and legacy character dominance often trump fresh storytelling. And the bitterness was heightened because Lisa had just begun to make Luna essential. Her chemistry with Finn was undeniable. Her uneasy rivalry with Steffi had layers of both familial tension and psychological obsession. Her fractured relationship with Lee hinted at years of pain, secrecy, and unresolved betrayal. And her bond with Poppy carried the potential to open the canvas to entirely new storylines about family, heritage, and survival. So when Lisa was cut, it wasn't just a casting choice. It was a tearing out of roots before they could grow, leaving dangling threads and half-finished arcs that fans immediately began to map out on forums and YouTube breakdowns, listing everything we lost. Luna potentially shooting Sheila in a shocking reversal. Luna being exposed as Finn's biological daughter, and grappling with what that meant for her identity. Luna's spiraling mental health breakdown culminating in a violent standoff at the Cliff House. Luna clashing with Hope over Liam in a surprise triangle. Luna's unexpected pregnancy scare leading to generational drama. Luna's slow burn redemption as she stepped away from her darker impulses and found love with Will Spencer. And even Luna becoming the heir apparent villainess to Sheila Carter, carrying the torch into a new era of madness that would haunt the Forrester clan for years to come. And every lost possibility felt like a wound because Lisa had already shown she could handle the material. She had the ability to cry with a rawness that cut through melodrama, to seethe with anger that hinted at unspoken trauma, to deliver quiet menace in a way that felt more dangerous than cartoonish. And fans knew that if given the right scripts, she could have redefined what it meant to be a younger female character on a soap. So when she whispered those 6 words to her fans, the devastation came from the knowledge that she was speaking the truth. It should have been different, it should have been better, it should have been allowed to play out. And the tragedy is that this is not new in daytime, because the history of soaps is littered with talented actors fired at the height of their potential. And the pattern is always the same. The audience rallies, petitions are signed, hashtags trend, interviews are dissected, and sometimes, if the outcry is loud enough, actors are brought back. But often the momentum fizzles and the show continues as if nothing happened, leaving fans to hold the grief alone. And in Lisa's case the grief is especially raw because she represented something soaps desperately need: diversity, youth, fresh energy, and a willingness to push the boundaries of traditional good girl/bad girl archetypes. And her loss signals not just the end of a storyline but a step backward for the genre itself, which is already struggling to retain younger viewers. many of whom found themselves tuning in specifically because of Lisa and her modern presence, which bridged TikTok-era relatability with classic soap intensity. And yet, instead of seizing the opportunity, the powers that be let her go. And in doing so they underestimated not just Lisa but the loyalty of her fans, who now swarm Twitter/X, Reddit, Instagram, and Facebook groups with fury, editing together montages of her best scenes set to sad ballads, creating fancams that highlight the obsession glinting in Luna's eyes when she looked at Finn, replaying her tearful confrontations with Lee with captions like, "Unfinished story," and "Robbed," and even circulating a Change.org petition demanding Lisa's reinstatement, which within days amassed thousands of signatures. And what's fascinating is that her 6 words have transcend STD and who will seethe with fury at Luna for targeting his son, vowing revenge in a way that could bring back shades of his most ruthless self, and Ridge Forrester, who will see his niece Elektra as a victim of Spencer recklessness yet again, stirring up old resentments with Bill, and creating another round of family feuding that places Elektra in the middle of a decades-long war she never asked for. While Steffi and Finn could become involved through their connection to Lee and Luna, with Finn torn between protecting his cousin Elektra and managing the fallout of his unstable daughter's latest scheme, and Lee herself, who has already been suspicious of Luna's behavior, may become the whistleblower who exposes Luna's fake pregnancy scheme, or pushes for her to be institutionalized, igniting yet another family fracture as Poppy defends her daughter and demands the Forresters and Spencers back off. But the real brilliance of this storyline lies in its flexibility, because the writers can play it either way, Elektra pregnant or Elektra infected, and still get maximum drama, since pregnancy means a baby war with Luna as the kidnapper or saboteur, while an STD arc means shame, betrayal, and the destruction of Elektra and Will's perfect young romance, opening the door for new pairings and even more chaos, especially if Elektra, wounded and disillusioned, turns to another man for support, perhaps Zend or even Thomas, sparking fresh rivalries and making will spiral further into guilt and rage, while Luna, ever the opportunist, swoops in to remind him that she's the only one who truly wants him, baby or no baby, and the cycle of obsession continues. And fans know that BMB loves to drag out secrets, meaning that the truth about Luna's fake pregnancy could take months to come out, with Elektra suffering in silence, while trying to keep both women calm, and Luna tightening her grip on the narrative until some shocking event, perhaps a baby shower where 2 women reveal pregnancy results at once, or a hospital collapse where medical files are switched, forces the truth into the open in explosive fashion, leaving families fractured, couples destroyed, and one young woman, Elektra, permanently scarred by her brush with betrayal and obsession, proving once again that in the world of the bold and the beautiful, love is never safe, sex is never without consequence, and every new generation inherits the sins, schemes, and scandals of those who came before.